I definitely think that what broke me, like the real brokenness that changed my life, was when I was 17. I woke up on a Sunday morning and went to church, and in church I kept getting these missed calls, and it was a friend of my girlfriend's, and so I went outside to pick it up and call her back, and Brittany was her name. Brittany had passed away in her sleep, inexplicably, just fallen asleep and didn't wake up. And I had just turned 17, and that's not something that's on your radar. You know people die, but it's not something that you really know in a way that's real, that touches you. And it absolutely, it broke me. Yeah, it shattered me. My name is Joshua Clayton, and this is my Broken Not Dead story. I'm broken not dead. Well, I guess I don't know if it changed the trajectory of my life. Maybe I shouldn't even say that, because I don't know which way my life was going to go. But maybe I should say it changed the way I walked down the path. And the story of Jacob has always been a story that has been very meaningful to me. Jacob goes through all this different stuff, and then he comes one night to the edge of a river, and he dreams, and he meets, God comes and wrestles with him. And the scriptures show in that moment, in that story, that Jacob walks with a limp for the rest of his life. After that moment, like through the wrestling, it says that God touched a place in his hip, and then he walked with a limp. And that's not normally the language that we use when we talk about an encounter with God, but I think that's usually how it works. And so what I can say is that changed my walk. Her death changed the way that I walked the path for the rest of my life. And looking back now, I probably lost my faith, but I grew up in a Christian home, always felt called. And when that happened, there's a philosopher named Friedrich Nietzsche, and he's famous for saying God is dead. And I had not heard that quote yet. That was 2 years later. But I remember when Brittany died, I said to my best friend, I said, the God that I've always known is dead. Whatever that means, everything had changed from my reality. There was the sense that I had been tricked. Why I interpreted it this way, I'm not sure. But the idea of God is good, and if you follow God, everything works out. And if you do what's right, you get what's right. And that suffering comes to those who are doing things wrong. That even if you would never articulate it that way, that's the mindset at 15 years old that I had, for whatever reason. So the rage and confusion was tied up in feeling tricked. I thought the world looked like this. I thought that being a Christian looked like this. I thought God ran things like this. I thought these things didn't happen, but they do, and they did. And sometimes there's no answers. It wasn't a car crash. It wasn't a health condition. You just died in the middle of the night, and just no answer, no clarity. And it's just popping the bubble that I had lived in of certainty and of the comfort of a very nice American domesticated Christianity. It was traumatizing. It was traumatizing. None of my friends had experienced death at that age. So I had nobody. I felt like I had nobody. It's not a sob story, but I felt like I had nobody who understood. So I withdrew into myself. So all of this stuff, the reading, the wrestling, filling journals, and with all these doubts and uncertainties, it was all private, all by all alone. And I was talking about the bubble of certainty. Some people live in that their whole life, and they're able to say things like, well, just have faith, brother. Just have faith. well, I'm trying, but I don't, or just trust, or God's got a plan. That was when you're in the midst of pain and trauma and grief, you run into that one or two times, and then it's like, I'm not doing that again. So I'd kind of opened up a little bit, maybe a time or two, and I very quickly realized, yeah, it's not gonna work. I feel like it would be like, you're either a Christian or you're not. So if you're having these doubts, or what you're communicating is not allowed, basically. But in that place, it pushed me down a path of really diving into philosophy. I ended up really reading a lot of atheists, and privately, I continue to go to church, I continue to minister, but privately, I suffered. I struggled because her death confronted me with the age-old question of why, right? Like, why do bad things happen to good people? And they're all ancient questions, but to me, they were new. I think that God is capable of handling not only our questions, but our doubts and our rage, our confusion. There's a lot of things we say in the church and in Christianity that they sound so nice, and you can hear someone say it in a pulpit or in a book, God's big enough, or if you're a prodigal, come home. But then when someone actually does those things, when the prodigal's knocking at your door, it's like, well, hold on a second, Like, we believe that, but now that we're confronted with it, hold on. We talk about doubt and God being big enough for these things, but then when people have them, sometimes Christians freak out, like, you're not supposed to doubt. One of my teachers at UNA was a former pastor. I was unraveling at this point. I remember having like a total panic attack, and I ended up going to lunch with Dr. Gebhardt, and I just unloaded like all of this, 4 years of it. And I will never forget. I was really bringing in the guns, trying to really communicate all the pain, all the doubt, all the uncertainty, all the anger, all the disappointment. And he just listened for like an hour. And towards the end, his eyes just filled up with tears, and he said, those are tough things. And he didn't even say much at all. It was just, he let me bleed, He let me bleed, and there was no covering it over or let's hurry up and put a bandage on it. It was like, he just let me bleed and was there. And Henry Nouwen says it this way. He says, we are so obsessed with the cure that we've forgotten how to care. Like, we want to cure people, and in the process, that's great, but in the process, we don't care sometimes, and sometimes we just need to care for one another, even if we can't quite administer the cure yet. So yeah, Dr. Gebhardt was somebody that allowed me space, and it was very powerful for me. I want to say that the reason that I am not dead, what has got me through true friendship, I'm sorry, true friendship has been the most, I did not expect to cry. Yeah, true friendship has been the thing that over and over again has got me through. People that have sat with me through the worst nights, that have been there after the worst decisions, and people that have always pointed me back to who God has called me to be. And then faith. Jesus says if you have the faith of a mustard seed, it'll move a mountain. And even when I feel like I have lost all faith, I've always at least had a mustard seed. Like, that's so small. I've at least had a mustard seed left. Faith has sustained me through the darkest times, because even in the worst times of of my journey, I've still, there's still been a mustard seed of faith, of hope. And then forgiveness is my other answer to why am I not dead. Knowing that God forgives you is life, but experiencing that forgiveness through other people. Have you guys ever? I don't know. It's amazing. And to know that your darkest moment isn't your defining moment, or that, I think it's Richard Rohr that said the beauty of the gospel is that the worst thing that happens is never the last thing that happens. And I don't want to sound like a pastor here, but this is one thing about really critical talk about the church that I don't like, because I accept a lot of it, but there are also wonderful churches and wonderful people and wonderful communities. And what I've experienced has been unmitigated love and acceptance and forgiveness. And guess what? That's what delivered me.
I'm broken, I'm dead.